775 Al-Mansur, 2nd Abbasid Caliph 754-775 founded the round city of Baghdad, dies at about 61. In 1323 Amadeus V de Great, Count of Flanders and Savoy, dies at 74. In 1333 Nicolaas V Pietro Rainalducci, Italian antipope 1328-30, dies at about 73. In 1355 Louis, King of Sicily, felled by the Black Death. In 1473 Reinoud II, Dutch Lord of Brederode, dies. In 1553 Lucas Cranach Sr, German painter, dies at 81. In 1555 Hugh Latimer, English bishop and royal chaplain, burned at the stake as one of the Oxford Martyrs at 80. In 1555 Nicholas Ridley, English theologist Bishop of Rochester, burned at the stake as an Oxford martyr. In 1591 Gregory XIV Niccolo Sfondrati, Italian Pope, dies in office Magelstone at 56. In 1594 William Allen, English Cardinal founder Seminary of Douai, dies at 62. In 1621 Jan Pieterszoon Sweelinck, organist-composer, dies at about 59. In 1628 François de Malherbe, French poet and critic b. 1555. In 1649 Isaac van Ostade, Dutch painter, buried at 28. In 1655 Joseph Solomon Delmedigo, Italian physician, mathematician, and music theorist, dies at 64. In 1680 Raimondo Montecuccoli, Italian-Austrian General b. 1608 or 1609. In 1690 Margaretha M Alacoque, French mystic saint, dies at 43. In 1694 Samuel Freiherr von Pufendorf, German lawyer, dies at 62. In 1726 Giovanni Maria Capelli, Italian composer, dies at 77. In 1750 Silvius Leopold Weiss, German composer and lutenist, dies at 64. In 1755 Saint Gerard Majella, Catholic saint, dies at 29. In 1774 Robert Fergusson, Scottish poet, Scottish poems, dies at 24. In 1781 Edward Hawke, 1st Baron Hawke, British naval officer, won naval victory in Battle of Quiberon Bay, dies at 76. In 1791 Grigory Potemkin, Russian military leader, statesman and favourite of Catherine the Great, dies at 52. In 1793 John Hunter, Scottish surgeon and founder of pathological anatomy in England, dies at 65. Queen of France 1774-92 who allegedly uttered the phrase "let them eat cake," beheaded at 37. In 1796 Victor Amadeus Roman III of Savoy b. 1726. In 1799 Antoine-Frederic Gresnick, Belgian composer, dies at 44. In 1810 Nachman of Breslov, Ukrainian founder of Breslov Hasidut, dies at 38. In 1814 Juan Jose Landaeta, Venezuelan composer, killed at 34. In 1817 Manuel C. Piar, Curaçao's Venezuelan freedom writer, dies. In 1822 Eva Marie Vagel Lavarlette, Austrian ballet dancer and wife of actor David Garrick, dies at 98. In 1836 Friedrich Theodor Frohe, composer, dies at 33. In 1849 George Washington Williams, first major African-American historian, dies. In 1862 George B. Anderson, American Brigadier General Confederate Army, dies at 31. In 1865 Andrés S. Bello, Venezuelan poet, lawmaker, philosopher, and sociologist b. 1781. In 1867 Salomon Judah Rappaport, Alishan Czech rabbi and scholar Erek Millam, dies at 77. In 1877 John Zweissen, Archbishop of Utrecht, dies at 83. In 1877 Theodore Barry, French dramatist b. 1823. 1880 Edward Wolff, Polish pianist and composer, dies at 64. In 1883 Samuel James Ingolson, American jurist and brigadier general in the Confederate Army, dies at 75. In 1884, Bernice Parahi Bishop, Hawaiian princess and philanthropist, last descendant of the royal house of Kamehameha, dies of cancer at 52. In 1888, John Wentworth, American politician, Mayor of Chicago 1857-58, 60-61, dies at 73. In 1891, Sarah Winnemucca, Northern Paiute writer and educator. Life among the Paiutes, first English narrative by a Native American woman, dies of tuberculosis at 46 or 47. In 1893, Carlo Pedrotti, composer, dies at 75. In 1893, Petrus MacMahon, Dr. Magenter, President of France b. 1808. In 1906, Verena Howell Davis, First Lady of the Confederate States 1862-65, dies at 80. In 1909, Jacob Bart I. Insky, Sabine writer, dies at 53. In 1916, Klaas Olds de Katter, Christian Workers' Union leader, dies at 73. In 1918, Felix Ant, American organist, pianist, arranger, and composer. Desecration Rag Noller, dies during the Spanish flu pandemic at 29. In 1919, Charles Hafford Lloyd, British organist and composer, dies on his 70th birthday. In 1920, Alberto Nepomuceno, Brazilian composer and conductor. Artemis, dies at 56. In 1928, Septimus Kinnair, cricketer. Test for Eng, dies. In 1937, Jean de Brunhoff, French children's book author. Babar the Elephant, dies at 37. In 1937, William Seeley Gossett, English statistician, student. St distribution, dies at 61. In 1939, Ludolf Nielsen, Danish composer, dies at 63. 1940, 212, Dutch Communist Party resistance fighter. 3 NVV hostages, executed. In 1944, Eric Westberg, Swedish composer, dies at 52. In 1944, John Eugen Hughes, Dutch writer. The Dyke, dies at 78. German general during World War II, head of the German High Command, signed unconditional Nazi surrender, hanged by Allied forces after the Nuremberg trials at 56. In 1946, Alfred Rosenberg, German Nazi official, who wrote Nazi Ideologue, The Myth of the 20th Century, hanged for war crimes at 53. In 1946, Arthur Seyss-Inquart, Austrian Nazi politician, Austrian Chancellor, 1938, and war criminal responsible for deportation of Dutch Jews, hanged at 54. In 1946, Ernst Kaltenbrunner, Austrian Nazi SSSD, hanged at 43. In 1946, Fritz Sockel, German Nazi politician, general plenipotentiary for labor deployment, 1942-45, and convicted war criminal, hanged at 51. In 1946, Granville Bantock, English composer and conductor. Hebridean Symphony, dies at 78. German Nazi Governor-General of occupied Poland, hanged by Allied forces after the Nuremberg war trials at 46. In 1946, Wilhelm Frick, German leading Nazi official and war criminal minister of the Interior, responsible for concentration camps, hanged for crimes against humanity at 69. In 1948, Henry Foley, New Zealand cricket batsman, won Test, NZ's first Test match,